All right, we'll go ahead and call this meeting of the Isani City Council to order. If we can all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Doing a roll call, we have everyone present this evening. Do we have any public comment? If you could, just state your name and address for the record there, Bill.
Okay, is this, yep, it's on. Okay, my name is Bill Stickles. I actually reside in Cambridge, but I am also the editor of the Isani-Chisago County Star newspaper. Everybody's talking about yesterday's vote, but there was another vote that took place over the summer, and the results of which was revealed about a month or so ago, and that's the Isani-Chisago County Star's Reader's Choice Awards. And as we have in the past, I'm here to present a couple of certificates for some of the results that came about it. This year was a record-setting vote for us. We had 6,500 nominations in May and just short of 55,000 votes cast during July. That was for about 140 categories or so. So it was absolutely outstanding turnout for that. And as a result of it, the city of Isani did get a few winners and finalists out of it. The biggest of which was the Isani Liquor Store. That came out with several different ones. It was a winner in Best Liquor Store, plus Best Wine Selection, and it was a finalist for Best Beer Selection, Best Customer Service, and Best Customer Service from a local business. And then in addition to that, Bluebird Park was a finalist for Best Local Park. So I have the certificates and window clings here for you, along with an additional copy of the best of results for all of the different categories in case somebody has not yet been able to see those.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Bill. We appreciate that.
Thanks,
And
Bill.
thank you to everybody that voted in that. And it's a good thing Keith isn't here. We'd have to raise the roof up for his head getting so big. So,
It's funny that the Cambridge Liquor Store usually gets the best wine selection.
do they? Yeah. Yeah, we're just
There's
very
so much
fortunate to
there.
have some great help over there, and they've done an awesome job. So, and of course, the park and Public Works and everybody works really hard on that as well. So, cool. Well, thank you. Any other public comment this evening? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to adopting our agenda. Was there any modifications?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We do have one modification. This is to add business item K4 titled Council Member Request for 22 Broadway Street Northwest Business Discussion. And you should be seeing those on your agenda on your iPads soon, if not there already.
Motion to approve with the changes.
Second.
I have a motion to approve with the changes, and it's from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Let's see, moving on to approving our city council meeting minutes from October 15th, 2024, and let's see, well, actually, we have the committee of the whole meeting minutes and the city council meeting minutes from
Motion
that
to
same
approve.
date.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. For announcements, our city offices will be closed on November 11th in observance of Veterans Day. Our canvassing board meeting will be Tuesday, November 12th at 6 p.m. Committee of the whole meeting Tuesday, November 19th at 5 p.m. Our planning commission meeting will be Tuesday, November 19th at 6 p.m. And our city council meeting is also Tuesday, the 19th at 7 p.m. Do we have any council committee reports?
I do have one. So obviously yesterday was election day. I was an election judge here. It was actually pretty fun. I was really happy to see how many new voters came out. The amount of people that said they'd never voted before and didn't know what to do was awesome. I think each precinct had roughly 200 new registered voters that registered on the day of, which was shocking to see. I think each district had, or precinct had somewhere around 1,400 votes, so, 2,800 votes with 400 new registrations, and a lot of people actually that were registered that didn't realize they were, probably, I'd say twice that number that they didn't think they're registered, but then they checked on our registration sheet and they were there and they've never voted before, so I was really, really happy to see that. Our communities was really invested in that election, and I think the results showed that, so thanks for everybody for showing up, and good job for everybody that was an election judge yesterday, and the city staff did a great job, so it went about as smooth as it could have gone, so.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, and we appreciate everything you guys do to make that run smoothly, so, and all the election judges as well, so.
It was a marathon, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
This doesn't really have anything to do with any committees, but when you brought up Veterans Day, I thought of something. I was at Pearl Harbor 10 years ago on Veterans Day. That was the most sombering place I've ever been in my entire life, and I've been to Pearl Harbor before that. And I do want to say that I want to thank all our veterans, up and down, all around, past, present, future, with us, not with us, for their sacrifice to allow us to do our voting. And it's, I take that pretty near to my heart. And I want to thank all those people. But I just wanted to add I've seen a lot of different things, but that was one of the most sombering days I've ever had in my life.
Well said, Steve. And, yeah, I mean, a lot of people paid a lot of blood and sweat and tears to allow us to do what we did yesterday, and we're very blessed to live in, I think, the greatest country on earth, so. All right, any other council committee reports? All right, we'll move on to our first business item, K1, a resolution to consider approving a conditional use permit to allow an open sales lot for custom-built trailers.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tab and Slot LLC applied for a conditional use permit to allow for an open sales lot for custom trailers at 702 East Dual Boulevard. They did apply for and were approved for a zoning text amendment to allow for this at the September 17th meeting, and now this is just the formality of moving forward with that conditional use permit.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Merrill and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0.
So that's done now?
That
Yes.
will be
I
the
thought
very
we did
last
that-
time you will see that, unless
I
you
thought we
want me
did
to
that
bring it
last
back.
council meeting.
That
Zoning
was-
changes and then, yeah.
Oh, I thought we was already all done.
Planning commission meeting, 2 planning commission meetings, 2 council meetings.
Seems like 8.
And one concept plan, I think they came in with too, yeah. Okay, moving on to K2, resolution to consider clarifying the allowance of outdoor storage containers as a permitted accessory use in the Parks and Open Space Overlay District.
And so this was originally brought forward to the Committee of the Whole at the October 15th, 2024 meeting by Mayor Gordon. The Isanti Firefighter Rodeo Association is confirming their ability to replace the existing storage container unit and add an additional storage container to the site for necessary storage to host the rodeo event. This resolution is just to clarify that the City Council interprets the language under permitted accessory uses, other uses accessory and incidental to parks, open space, and recreation to include the outside storage containers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Heeman and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. One question I had on that, I know it says in there that they'll still be required to get any permits if necessary, but do they need a permit at all for doing what they want to do now currently, or?
No,
It's
not for
just
what they're
saying
doing
that if-
currently, but
yeah,
just building
okay.
permits if they're doing electric or anything
Right.
that does require electric, if
Okay.
they're building a storage shed or something like that.
Okay.
I just wanted to cover all of our bases.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, so, okay, thank you. Moving on to K3, resolution to consider approving the First Amendment to the Development Agreement for Fairway Greens North, 3rd Edition.
Good evening again. The City Council to approve the development agreement with JPB Land LLC for Fairway Greens North Third Edition on September 17th of this year. The miscellaneous provisions identified describes the square footage requirements of the allowed single-family structures as meeting the R1 single-family residential minimums of 720 square feet for garages as outlined for the zoning district in the zoning ordinance. After further review, and this was similar for the previous editions as well, JPB Land is requesting to adjust that garage size minimum down to 400 square feet. Not all of the houses will have that, but due to the different models they offer for affordability and just livability, sizes of square foot and what's allowed to fit on that lot, this is their request to do a blanket square footage. They do have a representative here who could speak more to that and the different available options that they have for all of the lots. I believe it's quite a few options for homes, and many of them have much larger garages. 400 square feet would be the minimum.
And this is something that we've done in the first and second edition
Yes, we did allow
already, or,
those.
yeah.
Just seems like a little bit of a big change.
It's not, it's the same exact thing we did on the first two.
Okay, I guess I don't remember those two, that specific change on those.
I got no problem with it. I think we gotta, growth is a double-edged sword. You don't have growth, you don't bring industry. You don't bring industry, you don't bring growth. Growth brings more infrastructure work, blah, 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 but that also cuts tax base. If we did it already on the previous, I don't see why we shouldn't allow it to go forward.
And
So-
the main issue is that on some of the sites, the larger garage size doesn't fit because of the narrowness of the lot, so with the housing style, and that's really one of the main reasons why. It's not that they necessarily want to have a smaller garage. Yes, it helps with affordability, but so does the narrow lot size. So it's really for specific models. There are some garages, I believe, that have 900 square foot garages also for their plans. And they have, I don't know if you want to, Lucinda's here, she can speak to the housing plans that they have if you would like her to, but.
Sure, do you guys have any questions, or, I'm fine with it, so.
No. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Not that we didn't want to talk to you, but I figure why, if we can get the yes right away, let's do it, right? So, all right. K4, council member request to discuss 22 Broadway Street Southwest. Was this,
It
Luke?
was this, so I brought this one up. I had a business owner in town ask me a few months ago about this, and there seemed to be a little bit of miscommunication on the type of business that he was conducting out of that facility. So basically, he does detailing with window tint on the side, and for some reason, the city staff classified him as a body shop. Now, a body shop has a lot more restrictions because they deal with harsh chemicals, paint solvents and all that stuff that pollutes the air. The EPA has really cracked down on that. But for detailing and tint, those chemicals aren't used. It's more of lighter chemicals, baby shampoo, Windex, stuff like that. We have two detailing businesses in town, one of which is a brick and mortar store, approximately 2 blocks down the street, and they're allowed to operate. So I'm not really sure what the holdup with this is. And he got a cease and desist order, so he can't work out of there legally anymore, and I don't think that's right.
I just saw that I was catching up on some old emails and
Yep.
saw it on the admin updates, and I actually had to put a note on my sheet here to ask about that. So, what is the deal with that? I mean, is he being classified correctly and?
It's not being classified
And it
correctly.
sounds like a staff told him that he needed to come in and we just had to change the ordinance, which we would have,
Yes.
which we'd happily
So-
do, and I'm sure if we need to do that, we will, but,
Unfortunately, in the B1 district, we don't have any allowance for any motor vehicle, anything.
Well, I can tell you right now that about 3 or 4 years ago, there was a detail shop in there, and that was never an issue, so. That there's been detail shops in and out of that specific building for the last 20 years.
Under my purview, it's always been an art place, so I can't speak to what was there previously, but it is not allowed within our zoning ordinance. So I actually printed off section 7 for this district.
Thank you.
thank you.
It is not that, when I spoke with the business owner, I did let them know that it just wasn't an allowed use within the district, and that the right steps would just be to amend the zoning. That we did have a recreational vehicle repair that was allowed within this district under conditional use, and so I didn't see it being a problem, but that we needed to make a zoning amendment, because the only things that are allowed are under conditional uses right now, and they're motor vehicle rental facility with accessory open sales lot, a motor vehicle sales facility, a household maintenance and small engine repair facility, as well as the, I believe, a recreational vehicle repair facility also, which is within the district. And those are all conditional uses. This district itself is very specific in that it's promotion of of creating a central business district feel and a focal point both culturally and historically on the city of Isani. And it's just a more limiting district, and so it is not in my authority to allow something that isn't in this ordinance. So I couldn't say under my purview that, yes, I can allow this, so I just gave them the steps. I really do feel it's my job as a zoning administrator not to permit people, or not permit people to come here, but to really help them figure out how they can work within our zoning ordinance to be allowed to do what they need to do. And I stand behind that very strongly. I like to help businesses do what they want to do here, and I was really trying to help you do that before. And so this is not the ideal situation, I don't think, but it's really my job to enforce a zoning ordinance and to make sure that we are upholding this for these reasons that are within the comprehensive plan and within this. So, and after speaking with them and knowing that were made clear the steps, and if they had any questions that they could contact me. It just was my next step in the process. So it's not that I don't think it should go there or don't think it can go there. It's really not my decision, it's yours. But just, it is your decision to make and not mine, so.
I would have to say that I don't think, when you explain this stuff to the average person, I don't think it's clear, point blank. I tried to answer questions for them too, and it's not clear even to me. For me, if you have a business just down the street that literally has a commercial detail shop, and it's on the same street, just down the street, how can you say that just because this is zoned differently? I don't think that's fair. That's discrimination. It shouldn't matter what district it's in or anything like that. Also, if you look at letter R, personal service establishments, I mean, he's offering a personal service to people. So how do you decipher? It's kind of subjective.
That would be outlined within ordinance number 550, so we
Okay.
can look that up, but there are very just specific, and it's just not I just don't have the authority to allow
Okay.
things within the city without your approval, and I think that's the way it should be. It's why you guys are the elected officials, and I'm just trying to uphold what you guys or councils before you have put forth in this ordinance.
Can we give them temporary authority until we decide how to change this ordinance?
That was what I wanted tonight, because I don't think he should have to stop working when he's paying rent on that building. And I think he got mixed information from a previous staff member that's no longer here, and I think there was some confusion there. And I just don't think it's necessarily fair to penalize someone for something that I think is point blank ridiculous. I mean, you want businesses in town, but then you're penalizing businesses that are here and that are providing a service that residents want. So,
Well, Stephanie's not doing anything.
well, the
Stephanie's-
code is,
I know.
all the government hoops, it's just
Yeah,
BS.
yeah, but I mean, obviously, somewhere the things got lost in translation, but yeah, I mean, that personal service, I was looking for how could we classify it, so, I mean, that personal service establishments, do you have a definition on that? Or, I mean, could that fall under that category, or?
And I don't disagree with Luke. The detailed shop, they're actually not really using harsh chemicals. And when you tint windows, like you said, it's Windex. It's, if he's not having any complaints from his neighbors or anything, I mean, I got more people calling me complaining about people starting their loud cars and motorcycles. Trust me. And there again, I don't disagree with them on that point for being upset. But if they're all within legal, there's nothing you can do about it. But then again, that neighbor should be respectful to the other neighbors. I don't disagree with Luke. I think we should just grant him the permission to move forward, and we'll just have to figure out how we can change the legal jargon on here.
I think that would be the best moving forward. I do think if it was a misunderstanding and not, like we've had in the past, other businesses, for instance, Tattoo Parlor, who didn't follow the rules and we made them cease and desist. This is a similar situation, and under my, I spoke with them, told them what they needed to do, and so that's why this happened. It was the same direction as that incident. So if it was a miscommunication and that's what the council wants to move forward with, you guys have the authority to grant temporary allowance of something but I think we should set the standards and a timeline for what that looks like for them to make the amendment, because it's really just opening the gate for anybody to come in with anything that you might, anything that you might not want here, literally anything. So that's the downfall, and it could be something like an adult use that you don't want. And so
I mean, look
it's
at,
just opening the gates for things like that to happen when you're allowing things that aren't in your zoning district. And those are the reasons we have it. It's not to prevent businesses like this that could very well be in there, and that's not what I ever told them. I just said these are the steps that we have to take to make sure it is permitted in this district.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great spot for
Yeah.
that business. I mean, I
plus he
think it's-
repainted
yeah.
it and it looks way
Looks
better.
great.
I mean, it was kind of a dump back there
Yeah.
before, so.
Yeah, no, I think it's awesome, so. But how about under that personal service establishments, I mean, what is that defined as, and could that
I am
just
looking
fit
it
under
up, I
that?
am not finding that ordinance.
I did look at there is an ordinance for detailing. I have the number. I don't know if Josie had a chance to look into that at all. It was
Yep.
kind of short notice,
And
but
before I sent out the letter, I did already look up the NA. I looked for every way to fit this in the code.
Okay.
I always do that. I'm always on the business's side. That's my other hat that I wear all the time. I always want to be pro-business. So the code for this is actually not that one, because it would be under the higher amount, which is why I put auto body, because I think if you put a larger allowance for things, if you decide to add things on in the future, you're already permitted to do them. So hence the auto body and repair, because auto glass replacement and repair is its own NICS code, which is what window tinting technically falls under, and that's 811122. And so I think if you know which way you're gonna grow, let's do it all at one time. So,
I mean, that's
we
when you
wanna
bring
see
up
that.
auto glass repair, they come to your flipping house and change your window. To me, that's kind of you see, you can't tell anybody, you can't have somebody come and repair my windshield in my yard. give me a break.
It's also
mean-
the storage, there's a lot of other things
Yeah.
with the location.
But I
of
just,
business.
I think that, I don't disagree with you. I think we need to word it correctly so that we don't get things that we don't want to have here, but we don't want to hinder somebody from doing something like this. I mean, you could do an oil changing station, and for all we know, they're dumping down a storm drain, and that's what we don't want. And I think that's why we limit, I understand where she's coming from, but I think we should, my recommendation is let's get him going back working, doing his thing, because there's not a lot of people that do detailing or window tinting. Second of all, let's give ourselves some time to readjust this, to make sure we word it correctly, so we don't have to be brought back on a continuous basis. I think every one of you up here has heard me say, I do not turn down reasonable requests.
So-
And I don't,
Oh, sorry.
so,
Sorry, a personal service establishment, just so you're aware, is an establishment providing services which are recurring and personal in nature to individuals such as barber shop, beauty salon, shoe repair, seamstress, tailor, of that sort. So,
Still personal service. If you're getting your car detailed once a month, it's no
I
different than getting your
how
haircut.
she's determining that definition is. But, it's just like over where I live, where Semler wanted to have his real estate or his office set up temporarily. I honestly didn't have a problem with it.
specifically for items that are personal to you, so like on your person.
That's what I
So it
thought.
does not include-
That's what I thought it would be,
It
but,
does not
yeah.
include even a massage establishment, a photocopy center, repair shop, or for anything, yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right, well, yeah, what do we need to do to get these guys back open and get them a temporary, at least temporarily permitted, and then we'll get these changes made and get it all finalized, but,
all it does is take an action by you guys to allow, I would say, set a certain date for that, and, we'd wanna see, I mean, the sooner the better for the amendment to be made, and we can discuss that tomorrow too, and what those next steps are, and figure out where that needs to go, but.
Yeah, come on up, Cruz.
So,
if you could just state your name and address for the record there, please, and
yeah, I am Cruz Brevin. I'm the owner of Precision Window Tint and Detail right here, 22 Broadway Street. Now that you say, it's a weird thing to say, but like the person thing you said. Recently, actually, just last week, I tinted 3 people's vehicles because they had a skin disease. Because the sun beats on their skin, it reacts to them in a poor way. They've been medically treated for it, and it still doesn't help. So I've had to do stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's.
And with detailing, I think you said that legally I can run auto sales out of there?
Yes, you could do
technically,
auto sales under a conditional
most-
use.
Yeah, unconditional, yes, but most auto places I see around here that sell cars detail their own cars in that same area. A lot of them do it under the books.
that's not in this
But what I'm
language
saying
yet,
is,
though, so.
Respectfully, I'm
That
not
is
like.
true.
It's true, I'm just
But it's
speaking the
also,
truth.
but it
Like,
also requires a conditional use permit, which is
Right,
a
and-
public hearing process.
We personally have not talked. I've talked with Jordan.
I did,
I've gotten your number. She might have transferred me to you, and maybe we did, sorry. Maybe we did once, but it was very unclear of what I had to do to go through this. You or Jordan, whoever it may have been, had sent me an email, but I read through it and I was so dumbfounded of what I actually had to do for my next step to go through this process to get cleared to come here and work. And at that time, I told you guys that it's kind of like I asked for permission to temporarily do it, and you totally just threw it under the bus and said that's not possible. You said I was doing an auto body service, which I can understand, yes, but anything I do in there has nothing to do regarding auto body. I don't flush body filler down there. I don't spray chemicals in the air. I don't do any of that. All of my detailing process and all of my tint products are all water-based solvents. They're safe for everything. If anything, they're cleaning the drains. So it's hard for me to understand why I now all of a sudden am here today. I'm not doing anything bad, which I understand. Yes, I probably needed to go a proper way about it, but it's so confusing to get through that proper way that I didn't know. And I kind of messed up by having to sign a lease that I wasn't ready for. It's difficult to understand what you guys want me to go through to get allowance to be there. And I'm doing nothing but technically helping. I'm detailing people's cars. There's been 4 or 5 times that I had to walk across to the postal service and jump start their cars so they can deliver your guys' mail. I've also actually just put a bid in to detail all of the mail cars. Like I'm doing nothing hurtful over there. I go there every day at 6 o'clock in the morning and I leave at 7 o'clock at night. I make my money, I put food on the table for me and my girlfriend, and I go home. That's all I do. It's just hard for me to understand the way you guys lay it out that I have to go through to be approved.
And he's not the only person I've heard that from. Somehow we need to make stuff more clear for small business especially, because all this language, and even me as counsel, like, I read some of this stuff, I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? And I'm in it, so there's gotta be a way that we can clean up stuff. I've been saying that with the RFPs, I've been saying that with business stuff ever since I got on here, and this is just a perfect example of it's just too confusing, You need a conditional use permit, you gotta do this amendment, like all these words that businesses don't deal with, so I guess I would be in favor of voting on something to just do the conditional use permit that we have to do or whatever, just to keep it simple for him, get it moving fast, and that's what I'm hoping for tonight, because I know he's an asset to our community right there, so.
Cruz, right?
Yes.
Well, we're glad to have you in town, and we're glad to have you doing business in town, and so I think there's just some, I'm not sure, communication-wise, you know, somewhere along the line, you know, we missed each other on understanding what we were gonna get done, so, but we wanna we wanna get you open, and that's what we're talking about right now. So for the temporary allowance, you said we need a date that we give that temporary
I think
allowance
that's
through,
the
so
best way.
how much time do you think we need to get all of that stuff done, and then in the meantime, he'll
I
be?
would just say for an application, so if we just set a date for the application, and then
Okay.
from that point on, we work through it together. Because then it's in our hands.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, let's just say, I don't know, what, you wanna pick a day, I mean, by the,
Yeah, so, I mean, just,
wanna
but
say
just
the
for him to
19th?
submit an application, I think is the right way to set a date for him.
yep,
And so, in order for it to go to planning commission, we already will need it by, sorry. trying to look at- Yeah. The 15th, we'll need it by,
of November,
yes.
okay.
Is that
All right, so
reasonable to
can
fill
you-
out something by then?
We just need you to fill out an application
It's a
for us
very
to make.
small application.
Yeah, for us to
The
make the
fee
change
is-
on our stuff, and then we'll change, we'll work, I think the council's pretty much on board to get it changed for you, so,
The-
okay.
The
And then in
fee
the
is for-
meantime, then you can operate under this temporary allowance, so you can open tomorrow if, yeah.
I'm not shut down, 'cause
Yeah,
that's for my whole living.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, no, and it happens. I mean, it's not, if you're not used to dealing with this stuff, it can be overwhelming, and it's not a problem, so.
The fee is $375.
What?
FYI. So
Okay.
for an amendment, because of the public hearing notice requirements, we have to mail out to everybody within 350 feet, unless we want it to be further. We also need to publish it in the paper for the public hearing.
Can we just change the code?
It is a state statute, so we do not get to change
Let's
that.
change the district name then?
We can't, every amendment to zoning code requires all of these steps.
But then he wouldn't have to pay for it, we would have to pay it if we amended our building code. We shouldn't have a business owner having to pay for something like this that should have been allowed in the first place. Okay,
He just wants to get the process through.
all right, I just don't think it's fair,
I would,
but,
I'd like to see this get brought back to Cal and maybe look at getting some simplified guidelines for small businesses to be able to do business in town, because it is really confusing. And maybe we can simplify the process in the future and make it easier. And
Yeah. Yeah, we can always do better, you know, I mean, go ahead.
I was gonna say, Mayor and Council, if you could take a vote for this action to lift the cease and desist order until November 16th, giving the applicant proper time to get that into Ms. Hill signed by that deadline, so we can move process with that through the December Planning Commission meeting. I think that would be appropriate.
I motion to lift the cease and disorder, give until the 15th, you said?
16th.
Until the
Six-
16th, so that gives them to the end of the day.
Get the
of business
application
day,
in.
15th.
And so he can get back into business.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. So yeah, you guys are good to go as far as getting open. We just need to get that application by the 15th of November, and, okay,
She'll print you out one.
she'll hook you up.
okay.
Thanks for coming in, guys.
Yeah, you bet. Yeah, thanks, guys, and good luck over there. And then you guys will bring that back to planning and stuff then on the 19th is the plan, okay.
Well, it'll be actually on the planning of the 17th,
In
in December.
December. Okay.
And you guys shouldn't have to come to that again if you don't want to, so I wouldn't worry too
should.
much about it. What's that?
They probably should. It's best that they are, but
The Planning Commission, we do have the other members, so they may want to hear from the applicant.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Let me get back here to where we're at. All right, so moving on to the consent agenda. I did want to mention, I'm excited to see Jessica Swanson coming on board here for our full-time park and rec coordinator. I think she's going to do a great job. She had done some work, I think just intern work and stuff over the summer, right? So,
Correct, she was actually our part-time parks assistant.
okay, awesome. Yeah, I think that'll be a great fit. And then, I don't know, Luke, did you?
Yeah.
I bet you had something on your notes, huh?
I want to say thanks for the donation from Security Bank and Trust Co.
Yep, I
yeah,
was gonna say the same.
Yep, that's great that we're getting donations for that. So
Yeah.
I think it's gonna be a really good event this winter.
Yeah,
I'm very excited for it myself. I haven't been there yet because I refuse to pay the money for it, so. That $12, but it's gonna get a lot of people there, so.
yeah, $1,000 from Security
Yeah.
Bank and Trust for Illuminate Isani is pretty nice. So, any other thoughts or discussion on our consent agenda then?
Motion to approve.
Second?
I have a motion to approve the consent agenda from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Heeman. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. Anything else? Oh, did you want to ask that question?
That fee,
That fee, can we waive the fee?
yeah.
Steve is wondering if we can waive the fee on the changing the zoning ordinance and stuff like that and adding that language to it.
I mean, that's, can we waive it? I mean, that's your decision as council if we wanted to do that for him or not. I just don't want to set a precedent, trust me, I don't want to set a precedent, but I think he's been kind of put through the ringer a little bit already.
I think there was a mix-up, miscommunication, and
Yeah, and he had reached out to me with a bunch of questions, and I tried to help him with this. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And last I heard, he was waiting to hear back from somebody, so.
I just,
Yeah.
if he's, how long has he been shut down for?
I don't think he's been shut down
He
at all.
had, we just,
We just received the notice possibly on Friday or maybe early this week. I'd have to look and see the date of that letter when he got it. It was mailed at the end of last week, I think on Friday, so I'm not sure what day he got it. In the
he
mail.
actually hasn't gotten it yet, but
Oh,
I brought it up because I saw it. I was like, that's ridiculous. Are you serious?
Well, I just think that if it's the building I'm thinking of.
It is, it's the old fire.
Yeah,
It looks so much better now. They painted it and he's
Yeah,
been trying to
that's-
upgrade it and,
to me, one thing you have to realize, areas are zoned for certain reasons, for certain situations. So zoning is a tricky thing. You can't just go into residential zoning and allow everybody to do things. In my head, when you start talking about a business doing detailing, I know of 3 places in town that do detailing out of their garage.
correct.
And I'm not rocking that boat, it's not my business to rock it. The neighbors aren't complaining, so I ain't complaining, I don't hear any complaints, I don't care. He's doing a business, he's doing it right, I don't see why we need to hinder this. I just think yes, there's a lot of things, my 14 years on this council, there's been so many things that have changed in zoning and doing things this way and that way. A lot of times, my better solution to this problem is, if you want to do something, even though it's against the zoning, come in. We can always make that decision without changing zoning, without costing everybody a lot of money. Doesn't take nothing to come in these doors. I'm a firm believer, if you want to say something, you want to be part of something, come in here and sit, just like every one of us have to do. When we're elected officials, we're here doing this. If you want to bring in, come in. It's not that hard to do. If you want something bad enough, you'll find the time to make it happen.
Yep. I
So
did tell
that's
him
why
that
I
too,
feel-
yeah.
huh?
I did tell him that, but he was waiting to hear back and then he never heard back
He
until.
still should have just,
Yeah.
it's sometimes.
I thought they were gonna figure it out in the office before.
Yeah,
This, it came to this,
I'm
to
an
be honest.
impatient person myself.
Yep.
I'm gonna come in if I don't get an answer. When I call somebody, I'm calling you for a reason. I'm not calling to see what you had for lunch. You know what I mean? So, I'm an impatient person. If you don't answer my call, I'm coming to see you. Because I don't have that too much time to fiddle fart around. So, that's why I've always said, if you want to do something, you're always best to come in and ask to see if, to change. For one example, none of you were on the council at this time, there's a guy that wanted to change a fence over here. And he had to have this stupid L-shaped fence. And it made no sense why he had to have that. Just let him have it. I mean, let's just be realistic. It's not harming anything.
You want to waive the fee?
I personally would.
Go ahead.
if I could make a comment on that, I do just want to share, we had a recent business who just went through a very similar process, which was for a conditional use permit to be permitted in a zoning district to allow for outdoor trailer sales for custom. He did it the right way.
And look how many months that went on.
It didn't go on very long.
It was 3 months. at least.
Well, this will also be very similar, not quite 3 months, but statute sets the timing of when we have to do public notices, public hearing, and to go through planning commission. If we didn't have a planning commission board, then it has to go through the steps of having the public hearing. I'm not saying I'm for or against waiving fees, but I would recommend that if council wants to look and revisit fees as a whole, or conditional uses or permitted uses as a whole, that we do that at a meeting, instead of giving one to someone and not to someone else who just had a very, very similar request.
I mean, I think it is a lot to charge somebody too when they're just trying to open a business. I mean, that's more than what the state charges for a health license for a restaurant, you know what I mean? So it is a pretty substantial thing just because they happen to want to do business in an area that we don't permit. So I'm fine waiving this fee if you guys are on board with that, but I would say let's add it to the next committee of the whole meeting and discuss.
Lowering it
maybe
potentially?
that we should try to do away with this or lower it or do something else. So if that's the precedent we want to start to set from going forward, then I'm fine with waiving this fee and then taking a look at how we should go forward with that, but.
I mean, maybe there's other businesses on Main Street that are handcuffed by this, and maybe that's not why nothing's happened with them in years. Think about that, too. Just too many hoops makes it too difficult. So, yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Okay. Do I have a motion for waiving the fee and,
I'll motion to waive the
or
fee.
go ahead, hold on one second.
If we could make a motion to amend the previous motion to
Okay.
include waiving the fee.
I'll make a motion to amend the previous motion and adding waiving the fee.
Second.
So I have a motion to amend the previous motion and add the waiving of the fee from Councilman Lundin and a second from Councilman Merrill. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0, and then if you can add it to committee of the whole, we'll take a look at that, so. Yeah, I mean, none of us have had to go through the process of actually seeing it, and if nobody ever brings it to our attention that, hey, I mean, we see, I guess, on the list, but, it's not something you think about until you actually go to do it, so yeah. no,
I've
I-
heard multiple complaints about all this zoning stuff.
Well, we don't do
and-
this kind of thing that often.
Yeah.
But, if it's that big of a fee, I can see why it would be,
And I get Stephanie's point. I mean, we gotta pay for
Oh,
mailing.
yeah, absolutely.
But you also wanna be a business-friendly city.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we have to eat some of these fees ourselves to make that business wanna come here.
Yeah.
The more business we bring here, the better off it's gonna fit everybody's needs. Unfortunately, and Mayor Gordon, you are more aware of this, it's the health department, we can't control what the health department wants.
Right. Yeah, there's
That's
all kinds of
something we
other
can't
fees
do.
that they get that, a lot of businesses
I
get
was-
that are out of our control,
I was
so.
at St. Paul today, renewing my comp card, my plumbing license, and I seen, and I'm not gonna say the name of the company, but the guy has liquor license, on sale, off sale, entertainment. His licensing was close to $5,000 to do business. That's just his license in St. Paul. So bear a lot of this in mind. We're not like that here, but I think the liquor license was $800 alone, just for the year. And now that's not counting his insurance, it's not counting everything else on top of that he's gotta pay. That's just to be able to sell it.
And that's why those cities are dying, and we don't want that
They're
here.
not dying,
Yeah.
trust me, they're not dying.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion to adjourn from Councilman Holmgren and a second from Councilman Lundin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. That motion carries 5-0. We are adjourned.